Senator, your response to President Trump announcing that he is not going to meet with North Korea leader Kim Jong Un?
Well, it's a startling announcement, but I think it is a function of the sort of impulsive approach the president is taking to this process all the way through. His quick and very poorly staffed initial agreement to go and meet with Kim Jong Un, the up and down discussions about what might or might not be discussed. And then I think he finally realized that it's very unlikely that the North Koreans will give up their missiles or their nuclear weapons, at least not automatically and overnight. And I think he was also boxed in by his JCPOA decision when he realized that he might be walking out of a deal with the North Koreans that is much less commendable than the Iranian deal. And I think that sort of might have slowed him down also.
So what would have to happen in order for the president to have to reconsider this meeting?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to get back on a very well-organized and very carefully orchestrated series of meetings with intermediaries who will talk about what's going to be discussed, what are the general terms, what are the North Koreans willing to give up, what would the United States be willing to also give up, and then see if there was an opening. I think the South Koreans have to be a critical part of this, too. So it would be at least a three-way, and also the suggestion, and not just suggestion, but kind of the obvious issue here is China is engaged, at least in the background, with the North Koreans to make that explicit.
You mentioned China. China has been a huge topic of discourse, particularly in the financial sectors of recent days. The president also announcing that he wants to use Section 232 for citing national security concerns about whether or not to raise tariffs on the auto industry. Do you think, first and foremost, that the Chinese might have been using the North Korea summit as a point of leverage against this White House?
I think the Chinese were using the North Korean situation not only as a point of leverage against the White House, but also in their natural interest. They want to see a situation where there is not a unified Korean peninsula whose orientation is to the west, not towards China. They also, anytime they can complicate our lives, many times when they can complicate our lives, they will do that. So yes, I think that was always sort of in the cards. I think whether or not it's a conscious kind of strategy to counter some of the proposals that the president's made in trade, that's not quite as clear. But I think, once again, you've got a president who's sort of, come in with ideas and claims and claiming to do this and that. And he'll do some, then he'll back away. And it's really sending the message that there's no consistency or dependability. I
was at the White House earlier today, and President Trump wouldn't say exactly why this meeting is off. Why is the meening off?
Well, I think there was suddenly the realization that one, he could not produce a immediate denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, which should have been obvious from the beginning, and therefore I think would have gone to the basic rationale why have the meeting in the first place. Second, I do think that they've started thinking seriously about how would this be compared to the JCPOA. And if there's an agreement that he thinks is the best in the world with North Koreans, in which they still have missiles, they still have nuclear weapons, the verification is rather vague, and the concessions, economic concessions, are significant, I think he was beginning to realize that wouldn't look very good.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Washington earlier this week announcing what he believes the alternative route to Iran should be, since the president has withdrawn from the Iran nuclear disarmament deal. What did you make of the proposal that they're saying?
Well, I think, again, it's increased pressure, but without an international accord and agreement, that increased pressure probably won't materialize significantly. What you have now is the Europeans who are looking for ways in which to maintain some of the relationships they built up. You have the Russians and the Chinese who are not at all, I think, interested in following that lead of increased pressure. So it'd be a unilateral approach and not as effective as the multilateral approach that Obama employed.